Welcome, welcome, welcome. Pat Hilton and Zach
What's up,
Hoffman.
Pat?
How are you, sir?
Doing well, doing well. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. We're rolling and
You
we're
on another
rolling.
week?
It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day to be
It
alive.
is. Schools are ready to close out. Kids are ready for summer.
Totally, dude. And that's the whole game that we talk about is marketing and making sure that we are putting ourselves out there into the world and helping people understand that they've got an opportunity to get their message out. So we are live all over the planet now. Live video starting on Facebook. Mr. Zuckerberg has now connected me to his Facebook network. Thank you, Mr. Zuckerberg. So we are live all over the world. Zach Hoffman and Pat Hilton exults in the building, and it's all about marketing.
For sure. Yeah.
So what do we got today? Zach's the boss here. Zach's going to break you down with the stuff here. Come on.
Three topics that we're going to hit on, at the firm report this morning. Essentially topic one, sometimes we hear about David versus Goliath. There's some of these big, law firms that are essentially getting into your market. Remember, they're getting into your market. You said it best, right?
Mm-hmm.
So number two, just it didn't work for somebody else really doesn't matter, just because like a guy you went to law school with, marketing didn't work for him,
right?
Doesn't mean it ain't going to work for you. And the third topic to really hit on is not all marketing partners are created equal. So, don't get dissuaded by because you worked with a specific organization and they couldn't get you the results you were looking for that, hey, marketing doesn't work. It's just like, if your current lifestyle works for you, then say la vie, call it a day and just say, oh, marketing doesn't work. But if your wife and your family is asking for more out of life and you're just asking for more out of life, and keep going hunting, find the right marketing partner and make things work.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much opportunity out there, and we've talked about your creative branding skills a lot lately too, and your ability to really focus in on something, analyze it, break it down into bullet points, and magnify the positives so that you can shine and outshine your competition. And with the social media marketplace and AI tools and this giving us the ability to do that on a huge scale, especially compared to 20 years ago, the opportunities are endless.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely, look, there's so much information and data out there. You also have AI, which is augmenting everything and anything from a lot of various perspectives. You're foolish if you're not using it or testing things in it. But essentially, utilize all these tools to get to the next level and, continue to be persistent. But hitting on that first topic that we were talking about, David versus Goliath. So we hear it in a lot of markets and in a lot of various towns because there's heavy media budgets that come to market from particular firms out there. And you have the Morgan and Morgans of the world who are just setting the pace throughout the markets. Then you have Sweet James, who is pinpointing specific markets. You have people like the Barnes firm. And you have specific firms that come in with heavy dollars to, buy media within specific markets. But, it's a David versus Goliath scenario, because there's still a lot of unique selling propositions that smaller firms can offer that these larger firms just aren't nimble enough to bring to market or even, necessarily compete at the same level as to which somebody can compete when they're more, flexible, nimble, and, boots on the ground within their specific town.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Morgan and Morgan, we've touched on them here on the show quite a few times.
Yeah.
Just from my outside perspective, again, I'm not as much of a niche powerhouse like you, but they seem to be the power player in that category.
They're driving so much data, like they're data driven. They're so out here, in a lot of ways, and they're doing a lot of things, right? So they might be hitting a market that me and you or a specific firm that might be intimidated by them. They might actually not even care about your market. They just might have presence there and be penetrating really hard in a specific pocket that their, their national media buy allows them to detect and just like honing straight in there while you're paying attention to all these other things or being dissuaded from your own market because of their presence. A lot of that just doesn't make sense to me as a marketer that's, represented a number of firms that are, either niche and boutique in their specific market or even going national. We've represented national brands as well as local brands. And definitely, we see a lot of competitive advantages to messaging as well as like honing in on who you are and not necessarily paying attention to the competition. Tom Brady didn't win Super Bowls because he really gave a shit about how other people play the offense. He had his own perfection when it came to the game, and that's why he was one of the greats.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't duplicate that. I think that I was just talking to somebody here because there's already people in the chat, and AI, we've been talking a lot about AI, and this is what you and I have discussed, is that human and to human connection is going to become more and more and more important, because in business, an AI robot doesn't have a social security number. An AI robot doesn't have a bank account. An AI robot can't help you when you are injured in a car accident. You need a human being to come in and accelerate that process and help you. And so those decisions are going to be made based on who's the person that cares the most. And
Correct.
I think that
And
that's going to enhance people's ability to do business.
Yeah, compassion and empathy are critical when it comes to connecting with the end consumer. And that's something that you see some of the big players missing. Or, like I would say the more lofty some of these media buys come, especially with some of the law firms, they get a little joking with some of their media communication, or they just like get not so serious. It's a serious topic. It's a serious matter. People probably don't want to hear like any like candid jokingness. Like sometimes, yes, they do want to be made to smile by your media, but if you're trying to make them smile, like do something for the community, like give back to the community at a time when communities can use a lot of outreach from corporations and businesses to empower people to get to that next level. I think that's the way to make people smile, is like show what you're doing in the community, and that'll have a great reflection into the future.
Oh, yeah, dude. Community. What a great word. That is something that over the next 5 to 10 years is going to be, as one of your favorite words, critical for people. Because if you're not a part of a great community where you can build real relationships, build elite transactions, then you are going to be a victim of the robots, because they're going to be automating so much of the sales process and so much of the follow-up process. But there's going to come that point where it comes down to the deal getting done, and that community and that relationship that you have and your ability to communicate as a human is going to determine your success rate.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely, look, there's a lot of trends in media and advertising that always, come to light. But, true, like consistent messaging that actually like hits at the heart and really like pulls at chords. You can't beat that. Yeah,
No way.
those are the things that win in marketing communication and in winning new customers and clients.
Totally, dude. Winning new customer and clients. We were doing a test with some AI follow up, and a lot of the times the calls that we were listening to, people wanted to talk to a human. They didn't dislike the fact that the robot could communicate well, but they're like, listen, thank you. I want to talk to somebody.
Well, it's good for like cold outreach, or at least like hitting that like warm point until you hit to where you want. Then you persist with your key and then communication. But essentially, as we hit on from the beginning here, it's like really looking at like when you're faced with the David and Goliath situation. It's like look at your competitive advantages of what you can talk to. Like if you're younger by like 20 or 30 years, like that's something to hit on. That's something that the big money competitor, all he could do is show a picture of himself from what, 1980. Like you're here now. You're the guy. So like, hit with your youthfulness, hit with your speed, hit with your courage, and definitely you want to be that next big player, to get that big case. Remember, the big case didn't happen yesterday that you're going to get. That big case is happening today or tomorrow. So focus in your message on becoming that leader of today and tomorrow, and don't worry about what the other guy's doing.
I love that, dude. Attract the people that want the category expert. People are always going to look for the category expert. And that's the whole point of a great marketing agency like you guys. You're able to, like I said, you're able to analyze somebody's talent. And this was an observation someone made by watching our show. My friend Bedros, we were talking about, who watched the show and was like, you're such a great producer. That guy's a really good creative branding expert. You guys together, he's able to really analyze your delivery and shape you in a way that communicates in his category. And that's something that you're able to do that is never going to, it's a timeless skill set, because every business needs a consultant like you in their ear saying, hey, let's message it this way. Let's make sure we attract these people. Let's make sure we attract this type of a client base. And then when it comes to closing those deals or getting those contracts or those injury reports, well, they start coming in because you know how to communicate to that person. And before they even make a decision, they've already got you in their head as the person to call.
Yeah. I look too. It's fine tuning that wins. There's a lot of like consultants or like growth consultants that are like, oh, was it 50, 100%, 200%? Focusing on your next like 5, 10, 20%. And I assure you in like 2 years, you're going to be way beyond where you ever dreamed of. If you can like tackle that like 5 to 10 to 20% and you're already at some decent numbers, it's gonna hit right to the bottom line. And it's definitely gonna get you to a whole nother catalyst and a whole nother level. And huge success and huge growth for a lot of firms and a lot of businesses in general. It's really not that far away. It's
Hmm.
when you start like, moonshotting because somebody told you to that you kind of like burn at both ends and it doesn't really equate. It's really honing in on those next few percentage points, dialing in the system, and then replicating until you're just like incrementally getting better.
Totally. And that's the name of the game, is improvement. And that's why I always bring up the AI stuff, the generated avatars or this or that or the other thing. They are coming. Our ability to have these live conversations, have these live calls, communicate with firms, or have the firm communicate with their customer base is going to become more and more and more important, because our consistency and our authenticity is what's going to be the competitive edge when it comes to not only serving the customer, but attracting the customer and making sure that we help service their needs. They want a real connection. If I'm hurt or I'm injured, I want to talk to a
Yeah.
real person, and I want to have a real service. I want to make sure I'm going to be okay, or my kids or my family or my wife. And that is a real situation that can only be handled by an expert that cares and that has a real heart.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, to move forward onto our next topic beyond just the David versus Goliath and like how you tackle that conundrum there is sometimes we hear that like it didn't work for them, so why would it work for me?
Right.
Yeah, that's a very loaded topic, but essentially, if you have it in you to continue to market and be that, get better and become more efficient and get to that next level of numbers, it's essentially it can work for you. You don't necessarily know that the guy that it or woman that it didn't work for essentially had the same heart, courage, and drive that you did to actually persist and get to the next level.
Mhm.
Essentially, the two things don't always work for somebody for the same people, I guess, at the same rate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I mean, what works for me might not work for you. Your approach might be different for me based on the fact that that's why I love that you said that. The way that we analyze what actually works is based on the data and the metrics. And you're so good at
Correct.
that because you are not like a musical, creative background kind of person. We get stuck in our emotions. We love what we love. We're passionate about what we do, but the data doesn't always suggest that approach is the best for a client. You're very good at analyzing what's the data, what's the metrics, what am I dealing with here, what's the percentage, what's the conversion ratio, and it's number based, not emotion based. We want to be creative, we want to be innovative, we want to put ourselves out there, and we are, but how do we measure that? How do we dial it in? And how do we adjust that lever based on the client's needs and how we attract those customers that they need?
Yeah. It really becomes data over drama. And at the end of the day, if you're working with a marketing partner where you don't own your marketing assets and you don't get transparent data right from the platforms, I mean, don't just question it, just effing run. Like
Right.
don't just like be like, oh, I'm just gonna like, take it for what it's worth. Or if they won't like introduce you to media buyers that are like assisting in brokering your deals or allow you to be part of that, communication, essentially they are spending your money. And essentially you should have more transparency into like what's going on, how the deals are breaking down, and essentially what's working or what's not working. I mean, the biggest thing is like we'll have clients that come to us that have been spending 4, 5, or 10 years with another partner,
Yep.
and you say, okay, cool, like let us see the data, and they're like, oh, they won't let us like take our accounts or see the past data, and it's like, well, what data do you have? Like, let's start this mystery out by like whatever data you can provide, because that is the biggest crime in marketing is to not provide your clients with data or transparency as to what they're actually doing or buying or how it's all going down.
And I think
I
that's
assure you, the biggest companies in the world don't buy that shit. And they don't have
no.
any tolerance for it, and nor should, SMBs and law firms. Like you shouldn't have any tolerance for a partner that's not willing to divulge data and, come forward with you.
Absolutely. And again, the transparency of this, we've got some commenters on X, we've got some commenters on YouTube, and everyone
Yeah.
is mentioning the transparency aspect that we bring to the table. It's like, yo, that is going to become more and more and more important when it comes to trust, because you can hit live and go on these platforms and have these conversations and over and over again over the course of 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, like your friends Morgan and Morgan have done, or like you've done for 20 years. people start to believe what they see, what they hear, what they feel. And so it's so important, especially in 2025 and beyond, with the robots generating such incredible stuff, to make sure that that heart and soul remains in your business. And as a business owner like yourself, who's leading a team of people, you always want to make sure you put that heart and soul up front. Like the David and Goliath example. I mean, that's why people loved the David and Goliath story. He was the underdog. He was the little harp-playing, singing musician, and he comes out and he defeats the most vicious person ever on the other side of the battlefield, and with a slingshot, not even some mighty armor or anything like that. And as marketers, we have the ability to do that and take on Goliath now because of these platforms and because of the digital marketplace.
No, for sure. It's definitely, look, like, we start with that, like, it didn't work for them, which means it doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. Yeah, there's a lot of analogies that can be drawn in the marketplaces, but definitely like honing in on your personal strengths, like understanding the socio demo that relates to you, that you try to market to, that you're going to do business with is truly very important.
Totally.
And that goes a long way in marketing and advertising. I'll just spill over into just a story, outside of like legal marketing in general. I actually, just like started paying attention a little bit more to like different like sports that, attract like specific like personas or audiences, trying to like understand the logic or the connection as to like why one might be actually watching that sport and why an advertiser would want to be associated with it. And the reality is like, that specific sport might have a specific socio demo, specific demographic that's watching it that might be more inclined to watch it versus like me and you. We might not be like the right market for them, for those that want to be watching, but essentially it interconnects better with their mindset. So, for an advertiser to pair themselves up with that sport makes a lot more sense than to go, generic with, something that might have no relation to the buying demographic.
Dude, and I remember when we were on here and you were talking about the Savannah Bananas, and I had never heard of who they were. And I was just in Anaheim at the event, and the Angels Stadium was sold out with all these people pouring out. They were all in a good mood. They had their kids with them. They had merchandise. They had bananas on their shirts. And as I got closer to the stadium, I realized what it was. Because at first I'm like, what are all these people doing here? I just came to take a picture of this theater next to the stadium. And it is interesting that you are able to find different angles, use things that have already worked for other people, and then integrate that into your marketing platform to sell. And I think that just because one thing didn't work for you doesn't mean that there's not another angle that is a similar play on something that has worked forever that can work for you. And remixing something like baseball or marketing or a pitch or a 30-second elevator pitch can be remixed and manipulated by a professional consultant to work. Maybe they're just not getting the right angle.
I mean, look, essentially there's a lot of things in Major League Baseball that can work that they could be learning from the Savannah Bananas. Essentially Savannah Bananas smack it out of the park. They probably know that their like socio demo that's really going to be watching is like 7 to 11 years old, and they have like a time frame to hit them and get them to the stadium and actually engage, buy apparel and do all these things. But, when I was a kid, you'd go to a baseball game, like knowing you're going to be able to get autographs, engage with the players, like have fun before the games. Like the players are almost required to engage with the fans. MLB is dying on the grapevine when it comes to like fan engagement and all that. The difference at the Savannah Bananas is the players are actually engaging with the audience. Like they're actually like signing autographs. They're doing it throughout the game. I'm not saying Major League Baseball should be signing autographs throughout the game, but like don't make believe the fans aren't like in the stadium or even exist. Like that's their biggest mistake right now, and that's their Achilles heel. There's a lot of ways to like really like channel in and like look at who your customers are, look at who your clientele is, and craft your messaging around them and around that. That's going to get you that additional, percentage points, which are going to continue to get you to that next level.
Yeah, dude, that's 100%. And I think that you're able to see these things and break them down so easily. Whereas even for me, I see the creative aspect of what they're doing, but you see the demographic, data driven analysis of what those guys are going for, and it works. And apparently, the ladies like the Savannah Bananas. A couple of the ladies were telling me why they like the show. And hey, apparently, they're putting some good looking chaps out there.
Yeah, I wouldn't know about that, but definitely, like I said, it's the kids had fun out there. Like, I even asked my boy who just turned 8. I was like, "Do you want to go back to it?" And he definitely said yes. It's just it was a fun game to attend, and there's just a lot of like consistent like action, which is MLB is lacking, and then
Right.
MLB has a lot of struggles ahead of it because they lost their ESPN contract, which was a $500 million, and they need to find revenue. They need to find ways to get heads in beds, which is butts in seats.
Yep.
It's a little bit of a different business than law firms that we're talking about, but it's really no different, right? Because every and any business needs intake, and intake is everything, and selling is all timely, efficient, and making things work, knowing when your buyer's out there working in the marketplace.
And it's such a good correlation. And you know me, I love the pop culture references, and you're so good at that. But it does directly impact the way anyone markets. If you're looking at something that's working for someone, you definitely want to find a way to duplicate those strengths and insert that into your plan. However, your way of remixing it, it's a great way to go
Another
about
way to
it.
go about it, it's like, it's experiential marketing and advertising. Like, I think, like, it's so funny when I hear people like saying, "Oh, a bunch of like celebrities hopped on the New York Knicks bandwagon, blah blah blah," like with them being in the playoffs. The NBA put them there. They put them in those front row seats. Like, the reason those seats cost 20, 30 grand, they're not for me and you. They're for them to put a celebrity right next to the court and say, "Hey, look, Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise showed up at the
Yeah.
NBA game." Like, they didn't, those guys didn't like even necessarily want to be there. Like, they were paid or pushed to being there so that the NBA could seem cool and like, be able to be like, "Hey, we had these guys here." Same goes for a number of law firms. You see a lot of them like jumping on the nil bandwagon, which is like paying like a high school or a college athlete to endorse their firm or to come tour their firm. It's a game plan and a strategy that's starting to work.
Mm.
You also see Morgan and Morgan using a lot of like social media influencers and like getting like embeds in their actual production so that those pieces of content last forever. It's like one of the kickers for me is watching Mr. Beast, and he's like, "Oh, help me get to 10 million followers." I think the dude's at like 50 million followers at this point. But the reality is that like 10 million follower endorsement, that thing lasts forever in that video that continues to get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views. So finding a social media influencer that might impact your community that's starting to become something and getting that like in production placement is worth it's worth gold. I'm even telling a lot of advertisers that we talk to, like when it comes to buying traditional media, like see what you can do to get in production. Like when you're talking like finding a commercial, like me as a consumer trying to watch a commercial's a unicorn right now. You can't even find commercials in various productions. So like, why not try to be like the in-weather sponsor or the in-traffic sponsor, say that you're actually like seen or within that media placement. Even the
Mm.
NFL stopped going to like minute breaks and they actually put the commercials within the actual embed of the production. So don't buy from a media placement person that's trying to convince you, "Oh yeah, people are still watching commercials and this and that." Yeah, they might be, but the reality is they are watching the actual in live production, and that way you know that you're actually being seen and you're getting those media impressions.
Wow, yeah. I never even thought about the fact that sometimes I'll be watching something on YouTube, and the little ad will just kind of show up in the corner for 5, 7 seconds, and then you can skip it or
Well,
let it
it's
play or whatever.
Well, it's getting even better than that, though. Like you can actually have like a host that's actually like saying like, "Hey, go check out, Pat Hilton's, social production because he's the best." And then they'll get back to their regular like production in their segment. So you'll notice it that there's just a lot of like ad placement within influencers outside of those like particular ads. And then, like I was saying, even when you're watching like your traditional news media or news TV placement, you'll see like a weather reports brought to you by, so and so injury law firm or traffic
Right.
report brought to you by this injury law firm. Yeah, and the firm will also get the 30-second commercial that plays after the fact if the, consumer actually sees it. But you have to understand a lot of consumers might not be seeing that like after the fact 30-second commercial.
I love that, dude. So I pulled up Mr. Beast. He has 400 million subscribers
On
on
YouTube.
YouTube, and his cover photo is just a picture that says "subscribe for a cookie." That's all it says. It doesn't even say
Hey,
Mr.
man,
Beast.
he might send you a cookie.
Yeah, maybe he will.
He's
But
got some
dude,
good
it's
chocolate out
That's
there.
funny. I mean, we're talking about it because think about it. If you're the reason why I brought up, what if your little clip, you're Morgan and Morgan, let's say, and it plays on one of Mr. Beast's videos. Again, I don't know that that's their demographic. I don't know that that's the right call. That'd be something for you to
Yeah.
analyze. But how many people could potentially see your business
Oh,
compared
they did it
to,
in
right, compared to an MLB commercial or whatever?
well, they did it in like a bass fishing. There's a guy who does like fishing production, like bass fishing production. They did a Morgan and Morgan for the People placement, and this kid's videos get like millions of views. Mr. Beast was saying he tried to price what like an in placement ad would cost for somebody, and he said there's really no advertisers that can afford it. Yeah, but
Wow.
what's interesting though too is like if you're a big CMO or marketing chief at a lot of companies and you're watching what Mr. Beast has done and the number of brands that he's spawned and being the youngest self-made billionaire, you gotta be kicking yourself in the ass for ignoring like the production and everything that it takes and still having blinders on that you want to make believe the guy doesn't exist. Like
Mm-hmm.
shame on CMOs and even CEOs who are just kind of like ignoring the trend of like what they're doing from a production level to get to, newfound heights.
Absolutely. I mean, the guy is he's played that angle, and I mean, he could attract any marketing he wanted.
Well, we
He
talked
is the
about it.
voice.
His placement at grocery stores and in the airport when it comes to his chocolate bars better than Hershey's and
One
any of
hundred
those major
percent.
chocolate
One
companies.
hundred
And like,
percent.
how did that happen? Right. And if you're at Hershey's and you're at, any of those big brands, it's like, shame on y'all for losing that space to them, but like, good luck getting it back. And like, what's it going to take you to get back for not hopping into the social game earlier and just blowing your wad on a Super Bowl ad or whatever it is? Cause it's just easy to spend your ad budget that way. It's like, shame on you. That ain't the way to do it.
No way. And the tortoise versus the hare is kind of like a David and Goliath analogy too, where hey, slow and steady, like you said, blowing it on a big Super Bowl ad when you could have cut that up and really spended that on targeted demographic ads that converted
Or
better.
or content creation. I mean, it's like look at like Gary V. Like, look, you can't afford Mr. Beast for like media consulting and production, but Gary V does make himself available. If you have the budget to do it, like then that's probably the play for some of these CPG companies to start to do, or cloning people like him. But at this stage in the game, you can only watch Mr. Beast as an outsider and just try to like pick up all the clues and hints he drops from either his interviews or watching the actual productions themselves. And all those productions could be recreated
Yeah.
by a number of organizations to, keep pace. You look at a lot of companies that are dying on the grapevine, like trying to get people in stores or trying to get people to like do certain things. And they have all these, they have all this like overhead that they're trying to I guess justify.
Hmm.
But it's as we get more and more competitive going here into 2025. Yeah, I even said to a client this morning, I was like, we were talking about OTT, and I was like, yeah, I don't buy it. Like, maybe through YouTube and Meta buying some like, commercials and spots there. I was like, but where wearables are going and like the infiltration of like the Meta goggles, glasses, like the Ray-Ban glasses, and then ChatGPT is supposedly working on something
Hmm.
with the old,
The
creative
iPhone
director at
developer.
Apple. Yeah, you're going to see something big from a wearable perspective there. That's going to change the media game pretty dramatically. And you're going to continue to just see things evolve, but stay on your feet, stay nimble, and just really keep cracking down on creative.
Yeah, creative's the game. And Gary Vee encourages it. I mean, if you don't have a budget for somebody, get your phone out and start posting.
Yeah,
Start talking to those people. We had a guy running around. He does some real estate in Amarillo. He's filming all over Amarillo, making himself available. He wants to be the
nice.
Amarillo guy. Good for him. Be
Yeah,
that person. Be the go-to.
even you talked about Savannah Bananas, like, study them a bit to see what they're actually doing. It's funny because if you talk to people, when you actually go to a Savannah Bananas game. And I encourage you, if they don't come to your town and you're a marketer and you want to understand it, like travel to a game and go see it firsthand. But the reality is if you talk to a parent sitting next to you, oh, my kid's been watching this for 6 months and been wanting to go to the game and do this,
Hmm.
it's like it's like the kids are driving the dream of like actually going to attend and be there and see it firsthand. Like it's no secret to, a lot of like the success stories and the blueprints that you see. Yeah, success leaves a lot of clues.
Dude, totally. And like you said, analyze the creative that's already working for other people and integrate it. That's just remix it. Give it an old
Oh, for
remix.
sure. Like we even talked about, Morgan and Morgan, here a couple times. It's like even Mama Morgan's on some of the radio ads, like talking, and like Big Papa Morgan's still in the ads. Like they've tried to put the kids in the ads. Yeah, like, no offense, like people don't last forever, but like they are still going to that generation, Mama and Papa to drive the brand. The kids have not been able to carry it. And that, should ring the ears of all these young aspiring attorneys that are coming into big settlements. Like, get out there and ring the bell. Like,
Yep,
don't be like cautious about it because there's a big guy that's 70 years old in your market. Like, grab the bull by the horns and get nimble and do what you got to do. Get your hands.
absolutely. And dude, like you said, I mean, I think that time has changed to where we used to look at an older person and be like, "Oh, he's old, he's out of touch, he doesn't get it." And now I think people's perception has totally shifted and we're like, "That person's got the experience. That's the person I want to be around. That's the person I
Yeah, I
want to
mean,
take
look,
advice from."
the challenge with the internet is like it does create a lot of myths of like people that are like working to not work. I assure you, the people like what's always struck me, and I've worked for 100 millionaires, even billionaires, and like what strikes me is like those guys are never working to quit or they're never working to stop. So if like you're working to have an end goal to stop, eh, study up. Like the reality is like those that really make it and break the bank, like don't stop. And even the guy that tells you he stopped, he's still working. He's just working in a different way. And
Right.
he's, pitching that dream. But the reality is like, yeah, if you're going to make it to that next level, you're going to run through the finish line and you're going to keep running because it gets a lot more fun when you have like the flexibility to keep doing what you want to do.
Yeah, and a lot of those people, they have the leverage that they didn't have 25 years ago and they want to utilize that leverage to multiply their results.
Oh, they dreamed about getting there. They didn't dream to get there and stop. Like,
Yep.
what are they gonna do? Like, that's not how they had fun in the first place, and that's not how they're gonna have fun, and then at that next set. So it's like just keep going, keep persisting. It's like kind of even like Mark Zuckerberg said, he was just like when he got some of those buyout offers originally, he was like, I like my social media company, and if I took the buyout, I'd go start another social media company, but I like the one I have. So
Right.
that was his logic in like sticking with Facebook. And it's a good thing he did because he empowers a lot of businesses and has really, done a great thing for the world.
And dude, that's why I always every day I promote his live producer system because we use it every week. I think it's been extremely beneficial for us. I'd love to have
Yeah.
Zuckerberg come on here with us and tell us what we can do better, and we can tell him how much we enjoy the platform. A lot of people comment, engage, send us messages. I think his live meta for creators is fantastic. I can plug my software right into it. Sounds nice. Don't need anything but a Zoom call to connect. He's done a great job, and that's him saying, what does the marketplace need? How do I adapt the tools of the marketplace, integrate them into my platform, but personalize it to the user? Because I can tag you, it goes right to your page. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And so, any marketer out there, you're a law firm, you're looking for clients, one of the best ways for people to get to know you is by just hearing you talk, hearing you go through the experience your customers have had, showing those case studies in real time and showing your ability to talk to the broader market, but also niche down. I think that's what we're doing really
Yeah.
well here, even today, is looking at huge pop culture examples, but then saying, hey, how are we integrating that into our niche?
Well, a lot of people are fishing for like, what's the topic? What's the content? Well, at the end of the day, like, barring like confidentiality, like talk about what you saw over the past month. Talk about like what's going on in your marketplace over the past week or catastrophic events, big accidents that you might have seen happen. Like talk about, what's going on in the marketplace that people can relate to that actually like hit the buzz of the local beat. Those are things that national competitors or people that are spread too thin can't do, that, a lot of players are nimble enough to actually reach and hit.
Dude, it's awesome. It's so cool. What else we got, Zach? What do we got to
Yeah,
close out with
third
today?
topic here, that, essentially not all marketing partners are created equal. Essentially, we hear that sometimes, oh, this partner didn't work, or I wasn't able to actually like, get to my goals, utilizing marketing strategies with this partner. Why is it going to work with you? Well, at the end of the day, everybody buys ad placements differently. And also, they also have different tactics when it comes to website designs, conversions, SEO, social media placement. It's all very different, and essentially is not all players buy the same.
Right.
So it's kind of like we said earlier, like if your peers are saying it didn't work for them, shouldn't be the answer. If one partner didn't work for you, it doesn't mean that another marketing partner is not going to be like more efficient or better for you into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what you're saying is so important for people, is that you just got to find what works for you. If you did something for a minute, it didn't click, try and shift, find different angles. You're constantly saying, hey, let's try this. Hey, let's do this. I want a baby clip for this. I want this. I see this trend happening. Let's integrate that. Let's talk about the pop culture stuff. Let's go wide. Let's get broad. Gary Vee just did a post about that. If you're on your podcast, go wide on some of the topics, bring it back to your niche. I mean, we're doing all the things that we're being told to do. We've got a lot of people that come on and watch. They might not like, they might not comment, but they're watching, they're texting us, and they're saying, hey, you guys are doing a great job. Keep going, keep pivoting, keep analyzing the market, and keep getting out there. Because if we give people nothing to see, how can they possibly tell us what to improve? How can they possibly compliment us? And how can they possibly do business with us?
Yeah, for sure. And look, like definitely like take notes and learn from the best out there. It's definitely it's wild. I took my kids to Universal Studios Islands of Adventure over the past Memorial Day weekend. And when you start to see like what Universal Studios does, like bringing things to life, like they have the responsibility. There's somebody there that had a responsibility of taking a multi-billion-dollar movie franchise and actually like making it like look, feel real, and be a positive engagement, right? Can you imagine being the person that like they're like, hey, take Harry Potter and make a Harry Potter world at Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure that everybody's gonna love and nobody's gonna say anything bad about on social media. Somehow or another, somebody pulled it off. Same thing when it comes to MGM and Disney. Like they pulled off Star Wars World. They spent $3 billion doing it, but it's hard to go there and be like, they missed this, they missed that. Like the reality is like if you can't conceive it, break the ice, start to create an asset, then make it more efficient as it goes forward. Make your V1.1, V1.2, V1.3, and then take it to a 2.0, a 3.0. Like keep seeing like marketing evolutions and getting it to that next level. You're not going to hit it right out the gates like totally 100%. I think like they even say Mr. Beast produced like what 500 videos till he went viral.
Yeah.
In the hundreds before something actually hit. It's got to keep trying. You got to keep kicking and do things and persist. Like that's the true key to success.
It's awesome too. And that's what we do here is we want to look at it all. And I think that's so important is for marketers out there who really want to break through. Again, you're going to be going up against people that are using Google VO or Kling or all these different AI tools that are possible. But the heart and soul of marketing, that handshake marketing, is the way you get to people's wallet, because an AI robot doesn't have a social security number or a bank account or a wallet. And it's your job to really service the individual, because that's how you're going to build that client base and that real reputation. Use all the tools you possibly can. Market the heck out of yourself. But understand that that's the real connection that people need when they're doing a transaction, especially when they're trusting you, like what we're discussing here with personal injury or stuff like that. I got to talk to somebody. I got a problem here in my life. My daughter's hurt, or my wife is hurt, or my back is injured. I got a real problem here.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I speak to some clients that just want to like put more and more marketing dollars into like specific things. And I say, do some things to brand yourself, like soften the ask or like create it so like more people are asking to come see you, because you'll see bigger value in, some of those cases or like people that are actually like seeking you out. Like branding does work for various respects. It's not all just a direct response game, and you have to be careful with that.
Yeah, totally, dude. I love it. What else we got, Zach? Give the people something on the way out here that they can focus on this week to win big.
This week, I mean, look at, we're just going into June, so look at what worked in May, look at what didn't work in May, and fine tune from there. I know I did it for myself, and there's some things that I won't be doing again going into this May. But definitely, use this day or two to reflect on what worked for you or didn't work for you in May.
That's the game. I love it.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, the
Fine-tuning
firm
going into
report. You know what time it is. Exalts 20. I gotta get the logo right on here, Zach. I'm gonna get that right for you.
Good.
But yeah, hit us up. Exalts. Follow Zach. Follow me. Get in touch with us. Let us know how we can help you. Shoot us a message, and we will see you all on the next one. Rock on.